Welcome to today's deep dive. We all know the meme.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you've been anywhere near a screen in the last year, you've seen the TikToks, you've heard the audio bites.
It's inescapable, really.
Yeah, you've probably had the phrase permanently lodged in your brain. But today, we aren't just looking at the surface level joke. We are peeling back the layers of a digital phenomenon.
Right.
Because as we sit here today on Monday, March 9th, 2026, it is just wild to look back at exactly a year ago.
March 2025.
Exactly. When the internet collectively lost its mind over what can really only be described as a masterpiece of absurdist digital folklore. I am talking, of course, about Cappuccino Assassino.
It is genuinely remarkable how a character that started as essentially a throwaway visual gag, evolved into one of the most intricately detailed, emotionally devastating figures in modern digital culture.
Emotionally devastating is not a phrase I thought I'd ever use for a coffee cup.
I know, but we've pulled together a massive stack of sources from the digital archives of ItalianBrainrot.org to prove it. And what's fascinating here is that we aren't just looking at a standard wiki page.
No, we really aren't.
We have access to the raw backstory.md document.
The sacred texts.
Exactly. The foundational text file that the community collaboratively built to establish this entire universe.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because you and I both knew the basic premise going into this deep dive, right?
We knew he was the coffee cup that hunts people down.
Right. But when I actually sat down and read this backstory document, my jaw hit the floor.
It's overwhelming.
The sheer volume of trauma, the complex interpersonal dynamics, it's true crime level of intense narrative pacing that the creators baked into this character. It is staggering.
It reads like a pitch for the most gripping, high-stakes anime epic of the decade.
Combined with the harrowing psychological descent of a mob hitman.
That is the exact dissonance we need to explore today. The community took an inherently ridiculous avatar and forced it through a narrative crucible of grief, betrayal, and cyclical revenge.
And to understand the gravity of the lore, we really have to look at the baseline specs provided in the official bio.
Right, let's establish the physical reality of this character first.
So, Cappuccino Assassino was born in 1980, and yes, he is literally a male cup of coffee.
But he's not just a standard mug sitting on a desk. The file lists his height at 158 centimeters.
Which is roughly 5 feet, 2 inches tall.
And he weighs 69 kilograms, or about 152 pounds.
And he has black eyes. So we are talking about a human-sized, incredibly dense, sentient cup of scalding liquid.
It's terrifying if you actually picture it.
It really is. Imagine a 5-foot-tall, 150-pound ceramic cup of boiling coffee stalking you. The physical comedy of those dimensions fades incredibly quickly once you actually read the lore and realize what this entity has been through.
It is a classic tale of innocence, completely irreparably destroyed.
So where does this incredibly bleak timeline actually begin?
The sources tell us that Cappuccino Assassino's story begins in the peaceful village of Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil?
Yes, and the geography here is an intentional clash of cultures. Yggdrasil is the world tree of Norse mythology, symbolizing life and the interconnectedness of all things.
And they placed it squarely, right in the middle of the rolling, sun-drenched Italian hills.
Exactly.
Wait, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Are we giving a bunch of anonymous internet users too much credit with the Norse mythology connection?
How so?
Isn't it highly likely they just picked the name Yggdrasil because it sounded cool in a video game or an anime they watched, rather than it being a deliberate thematic choice about cosmic interconnectivity?
I entirely understand that skepticism.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture of how digital folklore operates, the intent of the original author matters less than the collective interpretation of the community.
Okay, that makes sense.
Even if a teenager just thought Yggdrasil sounded cool, the community built the surrounding lore to support the thematic weight of that name. In the text, the village functions exactly like a world tree. It is the center of his universe, a place of pure, untainted life.
The consistency of the thematic choices throughout the wiki points to a deliberate narrative architecture.
Whether it was planned from day one or retroactively woven together by hundreds of contributors, yes.
So in this village of Yggdrasil, what was his life actually like before the trauma? Because the document paints a picture that is almost violently wholesome.
Violently wholesome is the perfect way to phrase it. The text specifically notes that in his youth, Cappuccino was merely a young dreamer.
Right.
He spent his sunny mornings practicing his forms with wooden sticks, aspiring to be a noble samurai.
He didn't practice with real blades, he practiced with toys.
And his primary occupation, his real passion, was pouring morning foam art.
Just pouring foam art, he was a barista of his own essence.
Quite literally.
You can almost see the golden light hitting the Italian hills, the absolute peace of his daily life. The sources note, quote, "Life was peaceful. He was loved. He had purpose."
You are lulled into this deep sense of security as a reader.
It feels like the opening montage of a cozy slice of life anime. And then the inciting incident drops like an absolute hammer. Who or what shows up to ruin this?
The arrival of Bombardiro Crocodilo.
Oh boy.
The sources describe this creature as a terrifying flying alligator thirsty for destruction.
A flying alligator.
Yes. It descended on Yggdrasil without warning, and the text is quite explicit and brutal about the devastation. It rained down fire and fury, razing the entire village to the ground.
Just totally wiped off the map.
Homes were obliterated, families were scattered, the sunny hills were turned into a nightmare of ash and ruin.
It's pure true crime pacing. You start with the idyllic background, the sunny innocence, and then you introduce the monster.
The visual of Bombardiro Crocodilo, a flying alligator raining down fire, is so absurd.
Yet within the context of the story, it is treated with absolute gravity. The contrast between Cappuccino carefully pouring a delicate foam leaf and then standing alone in the smoldering gray ash of his obliterated home is jarring.
And the most crucial detail of this attack is the aftermath. Amidst the ash and the ruin, almost no one survived.
He was the only one.
The text states that Cappuccino was found as the sole survivor.
That is just heavy. I mean, you really have to wonder about the psychological weight of that. How does losing absolutely everything in a single inexplicable moment of violence rewrite a person's entire destiny?
Or in this case, a literal coffee cup's destiny.
Right.
This is a masterful utilization of the destroyed village origin story. We see this trope constantly in classic anime and heroic epics.
Like Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto.
Or even Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. The sudden, unprovoked annihilation of the hero's home serves a specific narrative function.
It strips away their innocence.
Their safety net and their ties to normal society, replacing all of it with a singular, driving motivation.
Usually that motivation is vengeance.
Exactly. It taps into such a primal human fear, doesn't it? The fear of losing our sanctuary to random, senseless violence.
Even when we're reading about a meme character, that underlying fear resonates. You can't help but feel it.
And being the sole survivor introduces the immense, crushing burden of survivor's guilt. Cappuccino didn't just lose his village, he lost the boy he was.
The young dreamer who played with wooden sticks died in Yggdrasil.
The trauma forged a psychological void. Nature abhors a vacuum, and in narratives like this, that void is almost always filled with lethal purpose.
And the sources detail exactly how that void gets filled. If you look at the wiki's timeline of events following the destruction of Yggdrasil, we enter what they call his wandering phase.
A very dark period for him.
The text says he wandered the Italian countryside for weeks, consumed by pain and loss. And I have to share my favorite line from this entire section. It says he survived on nothing but cold espresso and grief.
It is remarkably poetic. Cold espresso and grief.
It perfectly encapsulates his emotional state.
He has lost his warmth. He's a broken shell, wandering aimlessly until a massive turning point occurs.
Right, the dojo.
The lore states that during his wandering, he is discovered by the masters of a secret dojo hidden away in the Dolomites.
Okay, so they find him and take him to this dojo. But what actually happens there? I mean, how does a coffee cup actually fight?
You'd be surprised.
Did the community actually bother to create combat mechanics and a training montage for him?
They absolutely did, and they went into obsessive detail. The Dolomites dojo is described in the backstory document as the place where broken souls were forged into weapons.
Wow.
This is vital to understand. This was not a place for healing. It was not a sanctuary for recovery. It was a crucible.
So the training.
The training he underwent there is described as brutal, involving trials designed to shatter lesser beings.
So they basically took his PTSD and weaponized it.
Precisely. They took his grief and sharpened it. They broke down whatever fragments were left of the sunny dreamer and rebuilt him into something cold, precise, and deadly.
This is where the physical transformation mirrors the psychological hardening.
The physical specs, the wiki lists for him after this training are just insane.
What kind of power levels are we talking about here?
First, his speed. He becomes impossibly fast. The lore specifically notes that he is capable of outpacing even the character Trippy Troppy in close-quarter combat.
Wait, I saw that name in the file. What exactly is a trippy troppy? Is that a person? A creature?
The sources don't provide a full biological breakdown of Trippy Troppy in this specific document, but the context heavily implies it is a universally recognized benchmark for extreme blinding speed in this universe.
So if you beat trippy troppy.
To outpace Trippy Troppy is to break the known limits of physical agility.
Okay, so he's basically moving at warp speed. And what about his weapons? Because he doesn't use the wooden sticks anymore.
No, he graduates to dual katanas.
Of course he does.
The community envisioned a 5-foot-tall coffee cup dual-wielding katanas with what the text calls legendary finesse.
Legendary finesse.
And to illustrate this dexterity, the backstory document drops this incredible detail. His strikes are so precise that he once sliced a drop of milk mid-air without spilling a single foam bubble.
That is such a brilliant piece of world building. It's so specific.
It highlights not just raw, brute strength, but an almost supernatural level of control.
It's like a martial arts movie where the master catches a fly with chopsticks, but tailored specifically to barista culture.
It is, but the most fascinating physical detail provided in the text relates to his internal mechanics. Specifically, his latte focus.
Oh, the latte focus.
The sources state that when he is fully concentrated in battle, his crema,
the layer of foam on top of the espresso?
exactly, begins to ripple like liquid metal.
That visual is wild. The crema rippling like liquid metal.
It serves as a visual indicator, a tell in combat, that his ultimate forbidden technique is charging.
Oh, I know what you're going to say, and I cannot get over the name of this technique. The Frapputora no Jutsu.
Frapputora no Jutsu.
It is so wonderfully absurd. It sounds like a secret menu item at Starbucks that could kill you.
The nomenclature is undeniably humorous, but if we look at the symbolism, it's quite profound.
How so?
His crema, the very essence of what makes him a comforting beverage, rippling like liquid metal. It is the perfect metaphor for his transformation in the Dolomites. The soft, comforting foam of his past has literally become hardened, metallic, and deadly.
He doesn't just learn this stuff, he absolutely dominates. The trivia section of our sources throws in some incredible feats that happen after he leaves the dojo. Apparently, he holds the record for the most duels fought before breakfast. And my absolute favorite detail from the entire wiki, he once defeated a character named Crocodilo Formagiosi in a single battle using only one katana and a spoon.
A spoon.
Defeating an opponent with a spoon, especially an opponent named Crocodilo Formagiosi, which translates roughly to a cheesy crocodile, adds a layer of mythic prowess to his character.
It really does. It emphasizes that he has transcended the need for traditional weaponry. He is so lethal, so thoroughly trained, that the tool itself is almost irrelevant. He is the weapon.
It's like John Wick with the pencil, but it's a coffee cup with a spoon.
Exactly. And this level of lethal efficiency, born entirely from vengeance and forged in a brutal dojo, makes him incredibly dangerous.
And valuable.
Yes. It also makes him incredibly valuable to the worst kind of people. Which brings us to the next major era of his life.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because we pivot from a lone wolf samurai revenge story into a full-blown underworld mafia saga.
The genre shift is seamless but drastic.
After he leaves the dojo, the rumors of his skills spread, and he catches the attention of the queen of crime herself, Espressona Signora. Who is this character?
Espressona Signora is established in the lore as the absolute ruler of the Brainrot underworld. She is a figure of immense power, wealth, and cruelty.
So she runs everything.
She does. She hears the whispers about Cappuccino's reputation for silent, precise vengeance. And when she observes him, she doesn't see a tragedy to be pitied. She sees an asset to be acquired.
It's the classic mob boss recruitment. She sees this incredibly broken, incredibly dangerous individual, and she knows exactly how to use him.
The source material is very explicit about her psychological evaluation of him. It states, quote, "She saw raw power and grief, the perfect combination for a killer."
Wow.
This is a crucial dynamic to understand. Espressona Signora recognized his trauma and actively chose to exploit it. She recruited him to be her right hand. And the text even hints that, over time, some in the underworld considered him her king.
So they essentially become the king and queen of the criminal underworld, ruling with unmatched cruelty.
A very dark reign.
He becomes her most feared enforcer. If anyone threatens their empire, Espressona points and Cappuccino eliminates them. It's a deeply toxic codependency.
Toxic codependency is exactly right. She didn't want to help him heal from what happened in Yggdrasil.
Because if he healed, he would lose his edge.
Precisely. She needed him to stay broken, simmering in his trauma, so he would remain a pliable weapon for her ambitions. They spent years as the most dangerous duo in the entire universe.
It's a dark reign of terror, and the wiki includes a direct quote from Espressona that I think is one of the most chilling lines we've encountered in this deep dive.
Which one?
She says, quote, "She twirled for him. I whispered for him."
That quote is profoundly revealing regarding her character. I whispered for him suggests a deeply manipulative, possessive kind of love.
It really does.
It evokes the image of a puppet master. She is the voice in the ear of the assassin, directing his blade, stoking the fires of his darkness. Espressona's love for Cappuccino was inextricably linked to her control over him.
She loved the monster she had helped shape.
Yes, but the first half of that quote is what sets up the downfall of their entire empire.
Right. She twirled for him. Who is the she in this scenario?
She introduces the contrast that Espressona could not tolerate. The woman twirling is none other than Ballerina Cappuccina.
And this is the pivot point where the narrative transitions from a dark mafia epic into a tragic, heartbreaking romance.
Let's talk about Ballerina Cappuccina, because Espressona's darkness runs so deep that one day she hands Cappuccino his most consequential, high-stakes assignment yet.
A hit on Ballerina.
She orders him to assassinate Ballerina. And the twist here, the soap opera-level drama of this lore, is that Ballerina Cappuccina is Espressona's own sister.
The contrast between these two sisters is starkly outlined in the texts. Ballerina Cappuccina is described as graceful, innocent, and kind.
As her name suggests, she is a dancer.
She brings joy wherever she goes. The sources note that she explicitly chose art over power and beauty over cruelty.
So she is the exact polar opposite of her sister.
In essence, she represents everything Espressona is not, and everything Espressona actively despises because it threatens her worldview.
Ordering her top enforcer, her partner, to kill her own flesh and blood is the ultimate test of his loyalty.
And a chilling testament to Espressona's absolute ruthlessness.
It's a test, but it is a test that completely backfires.
Massively backfires. If we look at the timeline of the assassination attempt, the text details the moment Cappuccino finally tracks Ballerina down.
He's ready to execute his target.
Right. He's this cold-blooded enforcer. His crema is probably rippling like liquid metal. He has her cornered. But when he is about to strike, something unprecedented happens.
The armor breaks.
The wiki says, quote, "Not his resolve, his armor broke. For the first time since he stood in the ashes of Yggdrasil, he feels something other than rage and grief."
What's fascinating here is the mechanism of that emotional breach. It wasn't that Ballerina fought back with weapons, or that she outsmarted him tactically.
No.
The text notes, quote, "She looked at him not with fear, but with understanding. She saw past the blades and the cold efficiency. She saw the frightened boy who lost everything."
She gave him empathy.
Exactly. In psychological terms, she offered him the one thing Espressona specifically denied him. Ballerina didn't see the weapon forged in the Dolomites. She saw the victim of Yggdrasil.
It's such a powerful moment.
This is a classic narrative turning point. In these hyper-violent sagas, true love or genuine human connection, or in this case beverage connection, often serves as the only potent antidote to profound ingrained trauma.
It's incredibly moving. He literally drops his weapons. He cannot go through with the mission. And instead of a murder, we get a massive defection.
They fall in love.
The lore tells us they betray Espressona, they abandon the criminal empire, and they flee. They escape to this hidden cottage by the Mediterranean Sea.
A sanctuary.
They even marry in secret, hoping to just start over, leave the underworld behind, and live in peace. And for a brief, beautiful moment, the sources tell us they were genuinely happy.
However, as you know from reading any narrative built on the foundations of a revenge epic, peace is always temporary.
Always.
The tension established in that brief moment of happiness at the Mediterranean cottage is palpable for the reader. They have found an oasis, but they have deeply, personally betrayed the most powerful, ruthless figure in their world.
You feel the impending dread on every line of the page.
You do. Espressona Signora is explicitly described in the lore as not a woman who forgave betrayal. The sanctuary they built is inherently doomed. The sword of Damocles is hanging directly over that Mediterranean cottage.
And when the sword falls, it falls hard. When Espressona finally strikes, she doesn't just send a squad of assassins.
That would be too easy, too physical.
She orchestrates a masterclass in psychological warfare. To destroy Ballerina, she first has to get Cappuccino out of the picture. And because she knows him so intimately, she knows exactly what bait to use.
She leaks false intelligence.
Right. She feeds him a rumor about the whereabouts of Bombardiro Crocodilo, the flying alligator that destroyed his childhood home.
The one ghost from his past that he cannot ignore.
It's the one piece of information that Cappuccino cannot resist investigating. He leaves the safety of the cottage, walks right into her trap, and is immediately captured and imprisoned.
And with the protector removed, Espressona turns her full, vindictive attention to her sister.
The tactical cruelty of Espressona's revenge is staggering.
It highlights the difference between physical violence and psychological destruction. She doesn't just send someone to physically harm Ballerina. She sets out to systematically destroy her sister's heart and her perception of reality.
The sources explain that Espressona used manipulation and elaborate illusions to make Ballerina believe that Cappuccino was cheating on her.
And the detail the community chose to invent for this affair is wonderfully specific and totally bizarre.
Oh my God, yes.
Espressona fabricates evidence that Cappuccino was having a torrid affair with a character known as Tung Sahur.
Yes, Tung Sahur, who is described in the text as a mysterious percussive warrior.
A percussive warrior.
I mean, we really have to pause and appreciate the absolute wildness of a percussive warrior named Tung Sahur being the homewrecker in this coffee cup mafia soap opera.
It's highly absurdist.
It's so absurd. But despite the absurdity of the names involved, the emotional devastation depicted in the story is entirely grounded and real.
The emotional stakes are treated with absolute seriousness. The fabricated evidence is devastatingly convincing. Ballerina is utterly heartbroken.
And to compound the tragedy, we learn from the sources that at this time, Ballerina is pregnant.
Feeling completely betrayed by the man she saved, she flees the Mediterranean cottage and seeks refuge with someone named Ballerina Lolo.
Ballerina Lolo? Who is that?
The wiki lists Ballerina Lolo simply as Cappuccino's rival.
Oh, wow. So she runs straight into the arms of his rival for safety. It is a total dismantling of Ballerina's world.
It is. She believes the man who finally found his humanity through her love has reverted to deception and betrayal. She believes her empathy was wasted.
That is just crushing.
But the true tragedy, the horrific climax of Espressona's master plan, hinges entirely on timing. Ballerina eventually discovers the truth.
She realizes it was a lie.
She somehow realizes that the affair with the percussive warrior was a fabrication orchestrated entirely by her sister. But the revelation comes too late.
This is where the story gets so incredibly dark, and it shifts from an action story to a pure tragedy. The text says she was struck with unbearable grief.
And it's a very complex grief.
It's not just sadness. She is grieving over the lies she believed, the time she wasted believing them, and the irreparable damage it caused to her marriage and her life.
The psychological damage inflicted by Espressona proved fatal, even without a physical weapon.
Ballerina makes a tragic, irreversible choice. Overcome by this complex web of grief and manipulation, she drinks poison and dies.
And the sources include this highly specific, haunting detail about her final moments.
Right. She dies with a letter from God in her hand.
The introduction of a letter from God is a fascinating narrative choice by the community. It introduces a sudden, almost metaphysical element to the tragedy.
It elevates her death from a mere casualty of a mob war to a cosmic, predetermined tragedy.
Espressona's victory is absolute. She didn't just eliminate her sister, she forced her sister to die in a state of absolute despair. It is a terrifying testament to Espressona's understanding of psychological torment.
Meanwhile, Cappuccino has been rotting in captivity this whole time, but he doesn't stay there. The aftermath of Ballerina's death triggers an absolute bloodbath.
The backstory document describes his escape,
Noting that once he realizes what is happening, he fights through Espressona's heavily armed guards with a fury the underworld had never seen.
He is tearing through everything in his path.
Driven by sheer panic and desperation to get back to the Mediterranean cottage.
But when he finally arrives at the cottage,
He finds only silence. He was too late. Ballerina is gone.
he finds himself standing over the ruins of his second lost home. First the village of Yggdrasil, and now the Mediterranean cottage. The cycle of trauma has repeated itself perfectly.
The peace he found was an illusion.
Shattered once again by the cruel actions of others. The text tells us that in that moment of finding the silent cottage, he swears eternal vengeance against Espressona Signora.
He is pulled right back into the darkness.
He is, but the profound difference now is the target of his blades. He isn't hunting a mindless monster that randomly attacked his village. He is hunting the queen who deliberately, methodically unmade his life.
The killer with a broken heart, that's how the sources describe him at the end of this narrative arc.
It is a heavy cinematic conclusion.
It really is. You can just picture him standing on the coast, dual katanas drawn, ready to wage a one-man war against the underworld. It's incredible storytelling. But what is truly wild to me, what blows my mind about this entire deep dive, is stepping back and looking at the meta legacy of this saga.
Because we must remember the context of everything we just discussed.
Right. We aren't talking about a prestige HBO drama here. We aren't talking about a classic novel. We are talking about Italian Brainrot. We're talking about internet memes.
This raises an important question about how modern digital folklore is created, sustained, and monetized. If we examine the real-world origin of all this, the sources give us a clear starting point.
March 2025.
Cappuccino Assassino was created in March 2025 by a TikTok user named Alexi Pigeon.
And what was the original lore back then? It wasn't this massive tragedy, was it?
Not at all. His original lore was incredibly simple. He was merely a stealthy warrior who hunts down anyone who skips their morning cappuccino.
Exactly. It was a light, highly relatable, one-note joke about drinking your morning coffee. It's the kind of video you scroll past, blow air out of your nose, and forget about.
And yet, through community contributions, through the sheer collective will of the internet, that simple one-note joke evolved into this massive Shakespearean tragedy of love, betrayal, and cyclical revenge.
We need to spend some time looking at the mechanics of this internet culture because it is fascinating.
I agree.
I want to know how a joke about a coffee cup turns into a wiki with a backstory document detailing a mafia love triangle. Is it just people one-upping each other in the comments?
It is a form of collaborative, iterative fiction. In the past, folklore was passed down orally around a fire, with each storyteller adding their own embellishment.
Today, that campfire is TikTok, Reddit, and specialized wikis.
Exactly. Someone in the comments of that original video probably said, he needs a rival, and invented ballerino lololo. Someone else decided he needed a tragic backstory and introduced the flying alligator.
And then someone with web development skills actually builds the infrastructure to house all this lore. The Italian Brainrot.org ecosystem is massive.
It is extensive.
We touched on a few names, but the sources list a whole family tree and rogues gallery. You've got his half-brother, Apollino Cappuccino, his ex-brother-in-law, Ballerino Cappuccino, and other top-tier characters with names like Tralalero, Tralala, Lirali Lirala, and Brr Patepimim.
The phonetic absurdity of those names, Tralalero Trala, juxtaposed with the severe life and death stakes of the lore, is the defining characteristic of brain rot.
Let's actually define that for the listener. We keep using the term brain rot. What does that actually mean in this context? Because it sounds derogatory, but the community embraces it.
Brain rot is an internet slang term, heavily popularized by Gen Z and Gen Alpha, used to describe content that is so hyperstimulating, absurdist, and ironically detached that it supposedly rots your brain.
Characterized by rapid-fire pacing, loud audio,
and surreal mashups of unrelated pop culture elements. But it's used affectionately by the creators. It's a badge of honor to create high-quality brain rot.
And the website itself, ItalianBrainrot.org, hosts all these bizarre features that seem way too technically advanced for a meme page.
Yes, the tooling is impressive.
The sources list things like a bento page, a GTA 6 map, true size off, a volume shader, and a brat generator. What are these tools? Why are they attached to a story about a coffee cup?
This is where the technical proficiency of the modern internet user shines through. They are using professional-grade web tools for absurdist humor. For those who might not know, a bento page is a trendy UI design format that organizes links and widgets into a sleek grid resembling a Japanese bento box.
Apple uses it heavily in their marketing.
Yes, so they are using Apple-level design aesthetics to display the family tree of Trolero Trollala.
That is hilarious.
Exactly. The volume shader is a 3D rendering technique used to simulate lighting and atmospheric effects, like fog or smoke. They likely use it to render the steam coming off Cappuccino's head, or the smoke from his destroyed village in high fidelity.
And true size off?
True size is usually an educational tool to compare the actual geographical size of countries, but here it's probably used to map out the fictional world of Yggdrasil and the Dolomites.
And the brat generator.
That likely refers to a meme generator based on the aesthetic of Charlie XCX's Brat album, allowing users to make their own neon green, low-res text memes of the characters.
It's a hilarious clash of high-end tech and lowbrow humor. It's like using a supercomputer to play tic-tac-toe. But what blows my mind even more than the web development is how this character leaped from a TikTok joke into an actual monetized video game economy.
Yes, and the cultural footprint of this character extends far beyond the wiki. The sources specifically note his prominent appearance in the Roblox game Toilet Tower Defense.
Okay, I have nephews who play Roblox, and trying to understand those games is like trying to read ancient hieroglyphics. How does a meme character become a functioning part of a tower defense game?
In Toilet Tower Defense, players collect units to defend their base against waves of enemies. What is telling here is that Cappuccino Assassino isn't just a background cameo or a cheap starter unit.
He is integrated into the game's actual economy as a high-damage, high-cost unit.
Precisely. So the developers of the game looked at the lore, saw that he was a legendary assassin trained in the Dolomites, and translated that narrative weight into actual gameplay mechanics.
You have to spend a lot of in-game currency to get him, but he deals massive damage.
His digital mythology dictates his mechanical value in an entirely separate ecosystem. It shows how interconnected these internet subcultures are.
And doesn't stop there.
Furthermore, his signature catchphrase, Cappuccino Assassino, Assassino Cappuccini, has been translated into dozens of languages, indicating a truly international reach.
It transcends language barriers because the core themes and the catchy phonetics are universal.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition. The environment is pure internet brain rot, fast-paced, absurdist, constantly shifting, and ironically detached. Yet the community collectively chose to anchor this chaotic environment with a character defined by profound, continuous, unironic grief.
They built a massive narrative architecture of trauma, love, and betrayal around a 69-kilogram cup of coffee.
It reveals a core truth about these digital spaces. Beneath the irony and the rapid-fire memes, these audiences are using absurdist avatars to collaboratively reconstruct classic ancient mythologies.
It's the Homeric epic rebuilt in Roblox.
It demonstrates that even in the most chaotic spaces on the internet, there's a fundamental human desire for dramatic storytelling, for real stakes, and for emotional resonance.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We started today with a barista's nightmare and ended up with a profound exploration of grief and collective storytelling.
It's been quite a journey.
We tracked Cappuccino's incredible journey, from the peaceful foam artist practicing with wooden sticks in the sunlit village of Yggdrasil, surviving the devastating apocalyptic fire of the flying alligator Bombardiro Crocodilo.
We saw him wander, fueled by cold espresso,
Until he was forged into a deadly weapon in the hidden dojo of the Dolomites, his crema rippling like liquid metal.
We watched him become the terrifying enforcer for Espressona Signora, the queen of crime, ruling the underworld with cold efficiency and toxic codependency.
And then we witnessed the tragic arc of his heart breaking open for the graceful ballerina Cappuccina, their brief, beautiful moment of peace by the Mediterranean.
The horrific psychological betrayal and manipulation by Espressona.
And finally, Cappuccino returning to the darkness as a heartbroken widower seeking ultimate vengeance. When you look at the totality of that narrative, it truly transcends its absurd packaging.
It forces us to ask why we are so continually drawn to tales of cyclical revenge and lost love.
Whether the protagonist is a wandering samurai, a mob hitman, or a sentient cappuccino wielding dual katanas, the themes remain universally potent. We are captivated by the idea of innocence lost,
By the desperate search for redemption through love.
and by the terrifying lengths people or entities will go to when that love is cruelly snatched away. The medium may be brain rot, but the message is deeply, classically tragic.
The container is new, but the water inside is ancient.
Exactly. And as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want you to mull over one lingering, unresolved mystery from the very heart of this source material. We talked about the tragic death of ballerina Cappuccina.
A truly dark moment in the lore.
The sources state clearly that when she drank the poison, overcome by the complex grief of the lies she had believed about Tung 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 Sahur, she died holding a letter from God.
But the backstory document and the wiki never tell us what was actually written in that letter.
What did it say? Was it a message of absolution for her tragic choice? Was it a dark prophecy meant for Cappuccino Assassino to find when he finally arrived at the ruined cottage? Or was it some final cosmic irony in the bizarre, unpredictable universe of Italian Brainrot?
It's a detail that changes the entire context of her final moments, and it remains a complete, intentional mystery left by the community.
I'll leave you to explore that thought and maybe even write your own conclusion on your own. Until next time.